Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih lima ughliq wal khatim lima sabaq nasril haqq bil haqq wal hadi ila siratikal mustaqim wa ala alihi washabihi haqqa qadrihi wa miqdarihi al-azim. Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa 'allimna ma yanfa'una wa zidna ilma bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma aftah 'alaina hikmataka wa anshur 'alaina min khazain rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma aftah 'alaina futuhal 'arifin warzuqna fahman nabiyyin wa ilhamal malaikatil muqarrabin wa hifzil mursalin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Alhamdulillah, praise be to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to continue our classes on Ayyuhal by the known scholar, by the Hujjatul Islam Imam Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala. We have come to page 26, I think. Yeah, we have come to page 26 of the text, and I'm going to skip number 14 and 15 of our topics over the syllabus, so that we cover 13, 16 and 17. Perhaps number 14 and 15 we discuss when we come after Eid, inshallah. So let me first read this portion. I'm sorry I don't bring the adapter for the PowerPoint for the slide, so we just go to the text and I read it for you, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Imam Ghazali says in his work Ayyuhal, ba'du masailika min hadha al-qabil wa amal ba'du alladhi yastaqimu lahu al-jawab faqad zakarnahu fi ihya' al-midin wa ghayrihi. ونذكر ها هنا نبذا منه ونشير إليه فنقول قد وجب على السالك أربعة الأمور. الأمر الأول اعتقاد صحيح ولا يكون فيه بدعة، والثاني توبة نصوح لا يرجع بعدها إلى الذلة، والثالث استرضاء الخصوم حتى لا يبقى لأحد عليك حق، والرابع تحصيل العلم الشريعة قدر ما تؤدى به أوامر الله تعالى، ثم من العلوم الأخرى ما تكون به النجاة. So the translation will be, O disciples, some of your questions are of this sort. As for those capable of being answered, we have mentioned them in the Revival of the Sciences and other works. Revival of the Sciences is Ihya' Ulumuddin. We mention here accepts the summary from it while referring you to it. We say the spiritual traveler needs four things. The first thing is an authentic creed which contains no innovation. The second is true contrition, after which there is no going back to reoffending. The third is reconciliation with enemies so that none of them retains a claim against you. The fourth is obtaining enough knowledge of the Sharia for the commands of God, the exalted, to be executed. Then whatever of the other sciences through which there is salvation. So this is the Imam Ghazali advice. He continues to advise. So this is a portion of it. So this one I'm going to read together with page. I leave the Shibli because I don't want to go to that. I just want to combine with this number page 34. If you have the text, page 34. O disciple, you have understood from these two stories, we just ignore that. Know that the traveler should have a master as a guide and instructor to rid him of bad traits through his instruction and replace them with good ones. The significance of instruction is comparable to the work of the farmer who uproots thorn bushes and removes weeds from the midst of the crops, so that his plants are in a proper condition and his zeal is brought to perfection. The traveler must have a master to refine him and show him the way to God the Exalted. For God sent a messenger to his creatures in order to show the way to him. And when he died, God blessed him and gave him peace. He appointed deputies in his place to show the way to God the Exalted. The criterion for the master who is fit to act as a representative of the messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that he be knowledgeable, and yet not every knowledgeable man is fit for deputyship. I will explain to you some of his characteristics by way of generalization, lest everyone claim that he is a guide. So we say it is someone who is averse to love of the world and love of fame, who has been the disciple of a person possessed of insight, whose discipleship is part of a chain leading back to the Master sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is proficient in disciplining his soul with little food, speech and sleep, with much prayer, almsgiving and fasting. By his discipleship of that insightful master, he has made into a way of life for himself. Proficiency in virtues such as patience, prayer, gratitude, reliance on God, certitude, contentment, self-composure, mildness, humility, knowledge, sincerity, modesty, fidelity, dignity, silence, deliberateness in acting and such like. In consequence, he is like among the lights of the Prophet ﷺ, fit to be followed as an example. However, finding the like of him is unusual, harder than red sulfur. Whoever is favored by good fortune in finding a master such as we have mentioned, and the master accept him, should venerate him outwardly and inwardly. So then he talks about the adab with the master. Okay, let us read this verse and we explain after this. As for outward veneration, it is that he should not contend with him nor engage in argument with him over anything, even if he is aware of an error of his. He should not lay his prayer carpet down in front of him unless that at the same time of carrying out the former prayer. When he has finished, he should remove it. He should not increase the number of optional prayers in his presence. He should do whatever task is commanded by the master as far as he can manage is capable. As for inward veneration, is that everything he hears and receives from him externally should not be rejected by him internally, neither acts nor statement, that he be characterized by hypocrisy. If he is unable, let him leave his company until his interior is consistent with his exterior. He should be on his guard against socializing with the wicked, so as to check the power of demons among jinn and men in the recesses of his heart. And so he be rid of the taint of villainy, and at any rate he should choose poverty over wealth. Then know that, now he talks about Sufism. Then know that Sufism has two characteristics: correctness toward God, the Exalted, and withdrawal from mankind. Whoever is correct towards God and master his character with men, dealing with them mildly, is a Sufi. Correctness is to sacrifice the ego's pleasure to God's command. And excellence of character with men is not to get men to do what your ego wants, but to get your ego to do what they want, as long as they are not at odds with the Sharia. It's quite long. And we don't have the TV, so it's maybe a bit boring or so for you. Just be patient. So here Imam Ghazali speaks about on the four things that a salik. So I'm going to combine this because Imam Ghazali writes. This is a letter. It's not a book. So you will find that his arguments and his point are sometimes a bit mixed up. It's not in chronological order, not from one topic to another topic, no. So he just write free flow writing. So he writes whatever comes to his mind. So you will see that he talks about Salik first, and then later he talks about Sufism. Whereas Sufism is, on top of it is Salik and Murshid and so on, you see. So I want to combine these three advice that he mentioned by first saying that what is Sufism? I gave you the handout, you can refer to it. Okay, first of all, I mentioned many times in our previous classes that Islam has three dimensions. But before that, we welcome our brother from Jordan. Welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan. We have, Islam has three dimensions. Islam has three dimensions. One is the Arkanul Islam, we know very well, the 5 pillars of Islam. And then we have Arkanul Iman, the 6 pillars of Iman. And then we have Ihsan. Ihsan has no pillars. Ihsan is just a one statement. An ta'budallah ka'annaka tara, fa illam takun tara, fa innahu yarak. You worship Him, you worship Allah as if you see Him. If you don't see Him, you believe it. Have the conviction that Allah sees you. So this is Ihsan. We mentioned also previously that Islam, such as the Arkanul Islam, the Pillar of Islam, prayers, this one is covered under what is known as fiqh. And then we mentioned also what is known as pillars of Iman, believe in God, blah, 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 blah. All those 6 items is covered under what we call now, what? Should give a test. Aqidah. So this is Aqidah, creed. And this is fiqh or jurisprudence. And there is another one, Ihsan. Ihsan is what now we know as Sufism. We know as Tazawa. We know as Ilmul Akhlaq. Previously, if you look at previously and you ask, where is Aqidah during the time of Prophet? Where is the name Aqidah? It's not mentioned. You won't find it. You won't find during the Prophet said, oh, now we're going to talk about Aqidah. No. Or the Prophet said, now we're going to talk about fiqh. No. It was a later development. During the time of the Prophet, what the Prophet taught to the companions is basically Islam. Dinul Islam. Packaged together, these 3 components. Islam, pillars of Islam, pillars of Iman, and pillars of and Ihsan. So these together package and explain to the companion, to the Muslim during the first generation of Islam, the first Islam, the early Islam. But later on, the 2nd century and so on, 3rd century of Islam, people started to talk about fiqh wrongly, they read Quran wrongly, this and that, People come up with all kinds of reading Quran, kind of interpretation of Quran. And because of that, the scholars felt that they should write books, and they come up with book, and they come up with what we know now, call it as a discipline of knowledge. We call it fiqh, we call it this aqidah, creed. And we call the knowledge that deals with ihsan as Sufism. People don't like, some people, they don't like to be called Sufism for ihsan. They want it to be called ilmul akhlaq. Yeah, it's up to you. You want to call it ilmul akhlaq. Some people say, it's tazkiyatun nafs, purification of the soul. Well, it's fine. It doesn't matter what you want to call it, so long as you know the reality, the meaning of it, what does it and what it entails. You must know what it is. The name is not important, but what it constitutes is more important than the name. If you don't like it, a name. If you go, some people, they say, I don't want to be called this knowledge as Sufism. No, it's up to you. Some people, they are too allergic with the name Sufism. So, I mentioned here, Ihsan then develops into a discipline of knowledge known as Sufism. And sometimes it's also known as Tasawwuf. And some Western scholars, they wrote it as Islamic mysticism. And many other names. You have also Tazkiyatun Nafs. Or you have also purification of the soul. Or you have also sometimes Tahzibul Akhlaq. Or you have also sometimes Tasfiyatun Nafs. I mean, many other names that you will find. But that's not important. What is more important here, this knowledge deals with Ihsan aspect of Islam. Ihsan aspect of Islam. In fact, the book that we are reading, Ayyuhal, is the book on Ihsan. Is a book on Tasawwuf. The book written by Imam Ghazali on Tasawwuf. It is a book written by Imam Ghazali at his later stage of his life. If we look at his life, he passed away 505 of Hijrah. This book was written sometime around 495, I think. So at the later stage of his life, 490 something. So because of that, this book is, because the books that he wrote, mostly the books, I'm not saying all, mostly the books written by Imam Ghazali at his later stage, mostly as Tasawwuf book or Sufism books. So we mentioned also before 3 dimension pillars of Islam, Iman and Ihsan. And I just mentioned during the early Islam, Islam is taught in one package. You won't find differently. People taught differently during those days. You won't find the term fiqh, aqidah, creed. No, you won't find that. You don't find tajweed during those days. You find tajweed there. No. Don't find tajweed. Because people make a big fuss out of it, Oh, tell me where's during the time of Prophet, where's this term Sufism? I couldn't find it. Of course, it's not just the term Sufism you could not find during the time of the Prophet. You could not find even any other discipline of knowledge during the time of the Prophet. You could not find Aqidah mentioned. You could not find fiqh. You could not find tajweed. You could not find any other Nahu, Balagha. You don't find that during the time of the Prophet. Because there was no need for that during those days. But it was out of the need from the people later generation that they felt that it's a need to compile books, need to write books and so on and so forth, because otherwise people would interpret at their own whims and fancies. So because of that, they come up with books. So they name this Tasawwuf, they name this Aqidah, Creed, and so on and so forth. So this is a big problem. This is a big issue that we have to address. Because some people, they complain, this is alien, Tasawwuf is not part of Islam, this is not, influence of Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Greek. No, it is part of Islam. Even it was there during the time of the Prophet, but it was not named as Sufism as such as we know today. So the essence, the emergence of all disciplines of Islamic knowledge is not blameworthy. It's not blameworthy. You have this discipline. No, it is out of need. There was a need for that knowledge to be specialized, and they made it as such. But rather to protect the religion of Islam from deviating from its true revelation. The essence of Ihsan is practiced by the Prophet and his companions of the early generation. This is mistake here, error, typo error. Without naming it Sufism or Tasawwuf, you won't find the name Tasawwuf there, but it was practiced by the Prophet. It was said that Tasawwuf today is a name of a discipline, but without reality. Whereas during those days, it was a reality without a name. Now, people talk about Sufism. Some people, they claim I'm a Sufi. Some people, they claim I'm this, I'm that. But during those days, there was no such thing like that. But the reality of Sufism exists. This is what they said, At-tasawwuf al-yawm ismun bila haqiqah. Wa qad kana min qabl haqiqah bila ism. During those days, Tasawwuf exists, the essence exists. But people don't call it Tasawwuf. People don't call it, let us practice Tasawwuf. People don't call it, let us do Tasawwuf. But now, people are talking about it, books written about it, but the essence of Tasawwuf is not there. Even among those who claim that I'm a Sufi, I'm a this, I'm Tariqah, Murids and so on, they don't even practice Tasawwuf themselves. See? So this is the difference between us and those early generation of Islam. So what is the essence of Tasawwuf? I mentioned just now, the Tasawwuf is taken from the hadith of Jibril, Ma huwal ihsan? Ihsan an ta'budallah ka'annaka tarah wa illam takun tarah fa innahu yaraka. Ihsan is to worship Allah as if you see Him. And if you do not see Him, then believe that Allah sees you. So this is basically the spirit of tasawwuf. And then what else deals with tasawwuf? Other things deal with tasawwuf is basically matters of spiritual heart. Spiritual heart, we have to put it spiritual there. It's not physical. Otherwise you think that heart, because heart also has a physical heart. So we are not referring to that heart, because that is not a matter of tasawwuf. That is a matter of medical doctors for the physical heart. So we are talking about the spiritual heart. So when we talk about spiritual heart, last time I mentioned to you, we are referring to what actually? What is the spiritual heart? What is the entity of spiritual heart actually? The entity of spiritual heart, ultimate, is the ruh. Is the ruh. So when we refer to spiritual heart, it is basically goes back to the ruh. You remember this or not? I don't think you remember. I think next class I'm going to give you a quiz. Okay. When we, there are 3 terms used in the Quran. There are 4 terms. There are 4 terms used in the Quran. One is ruh. One is qalb. One is aql. One is nafs. These are 4 terms used in the Quran. So these 4 terms, all these actually referring to the same entity. They are all refer to the same entity, what we call as ruh. They are same entity. But why they have different names? They have different names because they functions differently. They were at the different modes. Different modes. They are at different modes. But they are all ruh. Qalb. Qalb is when the ruh at the state of getting hidayah. At the state of receiving guidance, intuition, ilham. That is where you call it qalb. This is where Quran uses as qalb. Aqal is always when it is doing intellection, apprehension, thinking, and that kind. So that is where ruh is called aqal. Nafs when it governs the body. When ruh governs the body, direct the body, it is called nafs. Ruh is the entity itself, the abstract entity. And this ruh also give you life. Okay. So whenever we talk about this, we are actually referring to the same thing. So don't confuse if you read Quran, why sometimes it comes aqal, why it comes sometimes. Because Allah is referring to the different modes of the ruh. We don't know what ruh is all about. Yas'alunaka 'anir ruh, qul ruh min amri rabbi. They asked the Prophet, what is ruh? The Prophet said, there's none of my business. That's Allah's business. I don't know. But how it functions, Ghazali and other scholars, they notice that these are things that how they behave, how ruh behaves. So they come up with this kind of thing. But the real entity of ruh, no one knows. We don't know because Allah never reveals to us. So when we talk about tasawwuf, we are referring to this ruh. We don't talk about physical. We talk about ruh, the condition of your ruh. This is the matter of tasawwuf. Okay? I mentioned last time when we talk about halal and haram, sah and batal, it is what? It is jurisprudence, it is fiqh. Halal, haram, halal, haram, halal, haram. It is fiqh. It is jurisprudence matters. When we talk about imam kufur, iman kufur, that's aqidah. That falls under aqidah. But when we talk about matters of ruh, sincerity, ikhlas, generosity, good characters, this comes under tasawwuf. Okay, so tasawwuf deals with this thing, deals with the heart, the spiritual heart. We are not referring to the physical heart, but of course, the scholar says physical and spiritual heart is connected as well. But how it is connected, Wallahu alam, we don't know, because the Prophet said, "Inna fil jasadi mudghah." Remember that. So it's one way it's connected, but we don't know how it is connected to the spiritual. So the matters of tasawwuf is also to adorn oneself with good characters. That is also matters of tasawwuf. We have to get ourselves all the good characters and remove all the bad characters. That is the issues of tasawwuf. Can you name the bad characters and good characters that we have? So this is good and this is bad. Okay, envy, hasad, and then what else? Riya, ostentation. What else? Jealousy. What else? Greed. What else? Arrogance. What else? Selfish. Some more. Gluttony. Any more? What about good? Generous. Passion. Humble. Humility, humble. Kind. Sincere. And the list goes on. So this is a matter of tasawwuf. You won't find this fiqh deals with this. You won't find aqidah deal with this. You will find this is dealt with in the knowledge of tasawwuf. Is this important? This is very important. This is very important. You know the problems of the ummah today because they have this. They have this problem. They are very good at iman and Islam, but they have no this. They have no tasawwuf. They have jealousy, they have greed, they have arrogance, they have selfish, they have all these problems. Because they think Islam is only two parts. Islam and iman, finish. They don't take care of these things. Whereas this is fardu ain. When we say fardu ain, it is compulsory upon each and every one of us. There's a prophetic saying. The Prophet says, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال حبة من كبر أو كما قال. You will not enter paradise if you have a smallest item of kibr. You will never enter paradise. And you take it lightly for that? You will never enter paradise if you have the smallest atom of kibr, arrogant, takabbur. So all this is very important for us to. This one is called mahmudah. Okay, mahmudah. And this is called mazmumah. So this one should go. This one, all these should go. We don't want this. But all this we They want. So we want to remove this from ourselves. We don't want to have this. And we want to adorn ourselves with these traits, these characteristics, this thing. So this is the essence of tasawwuf. So if you don't have this and you have all this, then what do you have? What are you becoming now? You have the perfect character. Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim. The Prophet said, Allah SWT says to the Prophet, you are the best character of mankind. Why? Because of this. Because he has all this. And then, the origins of the word Sufi. I don't want to go into the technical things. There are so many definitions why this is called Sufi, why this is called, I don't want to go. I just pick two most dominant opinions why it is called Sufi. One is that because people who practiced Sufi during those days, they wore wool. So because of that, wool is Suf. So because of that, they call it Sufi. And other opinions say because they are very pure people. They want to have these good characters in them. So they are called Sufi. And number 4, why the Sufis emerge? Originally, the Sufis emerged because during the second period, the second century of Islam, the Muslim began to forget about the true teachings of Islam. They started to live lavishly, extravagantly. They started to decorate this and that, waste money. So because of that, sort of like a response, a reaction to this, there are certain pious people that began to live in extreme asceticism. What we call it zuhud now. Zuhud. They try to abstain themselves from the world, from the worldly affairs. And because of that, it began like that. So it's not that it was originally as such, but because of the reaction of that, and then they started to withdraw themselves from the world, and then it began to what we call now Sufism and Zuhud and so on and so forth. So, in reality, when we talk about Zuhud, it does not mean that you have to abstain from the world. Okay? In reality, the teaching of Islam is not that you have to abstain from the world or you have to let go of the world. No. What you should have is that your heart is not with the world. You don't have the love of the world. You take the world, what is necessary, what is needed only. But you don't fall in love with the world. You don't love the world, the wealth. So this is what they are trying, but they go to the extreme and they become what we call now ascetic. They call ascetic during those days. So, and number 6, image of Sufism. As I mentioned just now, Sufism has been accused of the infiltration of other religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Greek. But no, Sufism is from the teaching of Islam, from the Ihsan. It's not. But of course, later generation, you may find a similarity, certain things with other religions. When you see similarities with other religions, you don't immediately conclude that Islam took this from that religion or that religion took that from Islam. No. Don't have that kind of impression. Because like Christianity, Judaism, they came from the same source originally. So there might be similarities here and there. There might be similarities. But it doesn't mean that Islam took from Christianity, Islam took from Judaism. No. Even other religions, other traditions, there might be certain truths in that religion, but because of, man's creation of that religion, cultural creation, so they deviate from the true path. Certain things, like for example, you may find certain things, basically like for example, almost all religions, they look for water for purification, right? Right? What does it mean? It means nothing. Doesn't mean that this take from that religion, no. It means, so happen that this is how religion purify themselves through water. Right? So don't say this religion follow that religion, this religion follow that religion. No, we don't have that proof. We don't have, the similarity exists. For example, we find people, zuhad, people who practice asceticism, isolate themselves from the world, from the people. They look at, some people say, oh, this is monks. Like monks. This is like, we don't say it that way because we don't have proof that. Because some people, because in the teaching of our religion as well, we have what the Prophet did, right? For example, before he got revelation, he went to Hira for a while. For a while, he went there several times before angel Gabriel came. He went there to contemplate, to reflect. So this happens. Doesn't mean that one followed the other. No, we don't have proof on that. Okay, a Sufi master. Now I come to Sufi master. Let me finish this and then we entertain the question. Sufi master. Okay, before that. So now you have tasawwuf here. Now you have tasawwuf. Tasawwuf is the name of the discipline knowledge, or English they call it Sufism. Doesn't matter. The person who practice this, normally they call it Sufi. Sufi. A Sufi is someone who practice Sufism. But this is what normally nowadays people think of it. But basically, you don't have to be a Sufi to follow, because this is Ihsan. You don't have to be a Sufi. But people think that's how it is now. Generally, a Sufi is a different category. And then you have a Shaykh here. You have a Tariq here. Okay? Tariqah. Tariqah, like in fiqh, there is a madhab. School. We have madhab Shafi, Maliki, Hanafi, Hanbali. And we have also in Aqidah, Ash'ari, Maturidi. So we have also Tariqah. Tariqah is not a very strict madhab like in fiqh or Aqidah, but it's basically a school, or is a order of Sufism. Can you name Tariqah? Naqshbandi. This is Tariqah Naqshbandi. Shishti, Qadiri, Ba'alawi, Shazili. So these are called Tariqah. And Tariqah, again, it falls under Sufism. Comes under. When you talk about Tariqah, you must remember that it is part of Sufism. So you have Sufi, you have Tariqah, and last one you have Murshid. When Imam Ghazali say about you must have a master in this work, not in other works, I'm referring to this work. You must have spiritual master, he mentioned there, right? You must have a master, spiritual master. He was referring to a Murshid. He was referring to a Sheikh, Murshid. He was not referring to a master, a teacher, ustad like myself. I'm not a Murshid. I'm just an ordinary kampung man. So I'm not a Murshid. You must be a Murshid, a master. What does it mean to be a master. A master is someone who is appointed by his master. Who was appointed by his master, until you have the chain until you reach the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the chain of sanad of the tariqah, whatever tariqah you come from. You have what is the criteria for the master, the spiritual master, to appoint his murid to be a master after him? He must have perfected his spiritual path, this tariqah. If you are traveling to this, you are called spiritual path. And before Sufi here, there's another one here, Salik. You will find this in Al-Ghazali. I think before this you have heard this, right? You remember? You don't remember anything. So you find that Salik mentioned. Salik is someone who's traveling to Allah, to get closer to Allah. Salik. He's a Salik. Perhaps he's a Salik, he's a Sufi, or some people like that. Sufi is the later stage of a Salik. Okay? So Sufi is a perfect Salik. Someone who is not yet perfected, he should just behave like a Salik, just ordinary person. Salik is someone who tread a path, someone who okay, so you have these terminologies there. You have Salik, you have Sufi, you have Tariqah, you have school, you have Murshid. So Imam Ghazali said, go and look for a Murshid. Murshid is someone who has achieved. You must have achieved what you call it ma'rifah. Ma'rifah is a knowledge of God through direct experience. Direct experience. Generally or mostly, most tariqah, they require someone who has achieved ma'rifah. Okay? I don't want to go further because I will confuse you. So that's the point there. We stop there for the Sufi. So a Sufi master, a Sufi Murshid of tariqah, it must be a Sufi Murshid. It's not self-appointed, self-claimed Sufi master. You will find this many. This is fake master. You don't just find fake money nowadays. You find fake Sheikh Sufi also. So many things, especially in this country. So many fake Sufis, fake Sufi masters. This is what Imam Ghazali told you. How do you identify whether they are true Sufi Murshid or not? Okay? Tariqah means a spiritual way. It's a school or order of Sufism. Okay? That one's settled. I mentioned just now. Sufi master is like a peasant that will remove all pebbles, bushes, thorns that will not make the plant grow. And finally, okay. Imam Ghazali encouraged you here. You look at here. Okay. Know that the traveler should have a master as a guide to rid him of bad traits through his instruction and replace them with good ones. You see? Why you need a Sufi master? Why you need a Sheikh, a Murshid Sheikh? So that the Murshid Sheikh can advise you what you should do, what you should not do. By being his murid, he knows your characteristics. He sees you. Oh, this murid, this guy is full of takabbur, full of ego. The ego is very high. So he'll give you medication. He'll give you zikr. You do zikr 1,000 times. Or he will instruct you. You go to the toilet there and wash. Just to destroy your ego. So this is a Sufi master. He knows what is your characteristics, your attitude, your traits. So he will say, you do this, you do that, you do this. And he give you also wirids. He give you zikr that you have to do. 1,000 salawat every day. 1,000 istighfar every day. 1,000 la ilaha illallah every day. Or 10,000. It depends. It depends. This is the spiritual medicine, medication that give you. Spiritual pills that you have to take. If you are alone, you won't be able to cure yourself. You won't be able to cure yourself. No one can cure their own disease. Can you cure your own disease? No. You go to specialists. If your health, your physical health is sick, you go to see a physical doctor, a physician. But if your spiritual health is sick, you go to see a sheikh, a Murshid. But in the first place, you must know, you must have knowledge. Am I good? Am I sick? Am I not? So this is from reading, from learning, then you know that, oh my God, I'm so bad. Only then you know your situation. Otherwise, you don't know. So then you go and look for the sheikh. Generally, the sheikh, they know you in a way. I don't know how to describe it, but generally the sheikh will know your situation, perhaps based on his intuition, or ilham, and wallahu alam. And sometimes Allah gives certain ways for the sheikh to know someone, his murid. So long as you are his murid, you have the link with him, then one way or the other, he will know how it goes. But even if, supposing that he doesn't know your situation, but by the way of giving you certain zikr and wirid, that means to correct our mistakes. That means to correct our disease by giving you. Because some medications is suitable for all. Suitable for all. Unless we have certain special disease, specific problems, perhaps certain medication required, spiritual medication. But basically, all sheikh will generally, they try to cure people through giving them the nasihah of this awrad, dhikr, prayers, salawat, prayer, or the amalan, or the deeds. By giving this, inshallah, it will cure. Of course, for specific, like for the brothers, they have, when they meet the people, they have certain privilege of that. That's one thing that for the ladies, perhaps they don't have that. But doesn't mean that they cannot be cured. They can be cured because the general medication for Sufism can work for male and female, inshallah. And then you have takhliyah. Takhliyah, actually, it's not takhliyah. Takhliyah and tahalliyah. Takhliyah. This is removing the bad things. When you travel to the spiritual path, the first thing that you have to do is to remove this thing. No, this thing. You have to remove this. Someone wants to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing that we have to do is we have to remove all the bad traits that we have. You will never be able to put this in your heart if you have this. Never. This is just like Imam Ghazali mentioned, this is just like, you imagine you want to grow a plant. And the earth, the soil is full of poisonous, toxic, plastic. Do you think that the plant can grow? You have, the soil has glasses, have all sorts of things there. It won't be able to grow. Similarly, this will not be able to grow. You have to remove all these things. Remove them. Dug them out. Remove all the
all the toxic from the soil of your soul. Remove them all. Once you remove them all, only then you will find this plant will grow. Only then will. If you have this, you won't be able. You won't be able. That's why the first thing for a tariq to do, Ghazali mentioned here also, the first thing that you have to do is to make tawbah. To make tawbah. Tawbah. Oh Allah, please forgive me. You know, at-ta'ibuna min al-zambi kaman la zambalah. Whoever make tawbah as if he has no sin. Whoever makes tawbah, sincere tawbah, as if he never made the sin. Deleted. Delete. So make tawbah. That's the first thing. If we have all the bad things, the haram things, make tawbah. And then you start removing it. Control, mujahadah. I mentioned to you last time that our soul is fighting against each other. You remember that? You don't. So I repeat it again. I don't know how many times I repeat. I'm going to give you a quiz. By next class, I'll give you a quiz. You know, when we talk about our soul, okay, this is ourself. Okay, this is our physical. This is our physical body. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us ruh. Okay, ruh. This ruh, when the ruh inside the body becomes vehicle for the ruh. This is where ruh is no longer called ruh. When it governs the body, it's called what? It's called nafs. Good. It's called nafs. Nafs is when ruh governs the body. It's called nafs. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainnah. Irji'i ila rabbika radiyah. Oh, the tranquil soul, come. Return to your Lord. Okay, nafs, in peace, in blessing. So this nafs, I think I showed you the video if you were here. This nafs has two faculties, has two powers. I'm not saying ruh has two in the body. No, ruh is one. But the faculty, the powers are two. Some scholars put it 4, but I just put 2, then you will see how it goes. When you say faculty, when you say powers, it means the strength that, just like myself, yourself, we are one, but we have power of punching. We have the power, the faculty of kicking. But we are still the same, right? Doesn't mean that we are two. We're just one. But we have the power, the strength, the quwwah. So ruh also the same. Ruh has one power, the faculty. We call it hayawaniyah. And another one is called natiqah. Arabic. Or aqal. Aqaliyah. For you to understand. This is basically animal in Arabic. So nafs has two strength, has two quwwah, has two power, two faculties. And this power, these two powers are fighting each other. Fighting each other. This animal inside you wants you to do bad things. Want you to do this. But this aqliyah want you to do this. So you are fighting inside your body. The soul inside your body is fighting. Fighting. At times this win, at times this win. This one is, aqliyah is when you have knowledge here. That's why you need to strengthen your aqliyah, the aspect, the strength of your aqal, knowledge. Your iman is here. You increase your iman, your good deeds here. How you feed it is by this. But how about here? All the maksiat is here. All the munkar, all the forbidden is here. So you are fighting against each other. So if you have knowledge, you have iman, you have good deeds, then you will win. The naqtikah, the aqliyah, the aspects will win the body. So you'll be an obedient person, good person. So until you tame your animal aspect, then you'll be fighting. Okay? This is an-nafsu ammaratum bisu. Nafsu that incites you to do evil. So you have to purify it. You have to purify your body until you become clean, so that ultimately you reach a higher level. Nafsul mutma'innah, lawama, and then nafsul mutma'innah. Ammarah, we mentioned last time, right? Ammarah is the worst one. Nafsu ammarah, and then we have lawama, and then we have mutma'innah. Of course, here sometimes people put it mulhamah as well. So it doesn't matter. Mulhamah also they can put it. But all these are before mutma'innah. So this is where you have the tranquil soul. This is so the inside evil. The inside evil.
Sorry, are there not 7? 7.
Yeah, that's another qualification. You can go to 7 also. Mardiyah, Radiyah, and so on. Yeah. But this is basically the simple one. If you achieve this one, it's already good. If beyond this, Kamila, Radiyah, that is Sufi, that is a Wali, all those. This one is good enough. If you achieve mutma'innah. If you achieve mutma'innah, is good enough. You can go higher. So you have Radiyah, you have Mardiyah, you have Radiyah, Madiyah, Radiyah and Mardiyah. Yeah, you have also Lawama here. Somewhere here you have Lawama and Mulhamah also. Okay? And up here you have Radiyah, Mardiyah and Kamilah. So 3. But generally we stop at Mutma'innah is already good. So we are fighting here. We are fighting. So that is the function of the Guru, the Murshid. To get rid of this state so that you control yourself, become Mutma'innah. We are not yet talking 2 things outside this body. You have another 2 things. That's why human is so noble. Because why? Because human being, not only they have to fight within themselves, they also have to fight the shaitan here. Very good, sister. And another one, the world. So you have to fight the shaitan. Shaitan has no power on you, but shaitan will whisper to this. Shaitan will whisper to this. Come on. Yeah. Whisper. So when the shaitan whisper here, so the limbs do it. Allah, just give him a punch. And then you regret. Why did I do that? Okay, so you have shaitan and you have world also. The attractions of the world. You become greed. Okay, another thing that the haywaniyah aspect that we have. Why Allah SWT gave us this? You need this haywaniyah for this world to grow. What is the characteristic of haywan that we have? Okay, the first thing that we have is to reproduce. Haywan reproduce, animals reproduce, procreation, right? So we also must have that characteristic. Otherwise, nobody will be living in this world after one generation. That's why Allah SWT said, "Zuyina linnasi hubbu shahwati minan nisa wal banin," and so on. Allah has created that for the man, love for the women, for the children, offspring, and so on and so forth. Why? Because that love, so that you can administer the world. If you don't have that, just like the angels, if they look at women just like that, you don't feel anything. Because angel doesn't have nafs. Angel doesn't have this. Angel is created to worship Allah. Angel is not created for reproduction, for procreation. No. Angel is created purely to worship Allah. But we are created to worship Allah, to look after the world as His vicegerent, Khalifa. Because of that, we must have this. Food. We need to eat food. That's animal characteristics. Anger. That's characteristics of animal, actually. That is animal, haywaniyah. But why you need that? You need that to fight in jihad. You don't fight with jihad like that. You fight jihad with bravery. Because anger, when it is positive, it is called brave. Anger, when it's positive, is called brave. When it is negative, when it is lacking, it is called coward. When it is extreme, it is called anger. You see, this one I'll explain to you. The lack, the excessive, and the middle path. So that's why we have, because some people will say, why Allah created us as such? But this haywaniyah nafs, the animalistic tendency, the animal power in ourselves must be what? Must be controlled, must be contained. You must control it, you must contain it, because you cannot destroy it. It's needed for you to survive. The nafs is needed for you to survive, but you must control, must contain it. Not destroy it, it's controlled, contained. Okay, so how you contain it? Of course, Imam Ghazali said, look for a spiritual master to guide you, to control your nafs. Okay, so this is called takhalliyah, tahalliyah, and tajalliyah. It manifesting. Another question, you must join tariqah. That's a very good question. Before you ask me that question, I put it there first, because that's a FAQ question that I always got it, People always ask the same question. Do you must join tariqah? Is it compulsory? It's not compulsory. If you can discipline yourself, you can have a pure heart at the end of your day, before you leave this world, then you can be on your own. When I asked my master, when we asked the teacher, the sheikh, is it compulsory to join any tariqah? No. So long as your heart is pure, then you are free. Ultimately, what we want is يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. You must have a pure heart, because that pure heart will only benefit you in the hereafter. If your heart is full of those bad things, then you need to find out. Because this is a disease. Please consider this a disease. We must consider this a disease. If you have cancer, if you have, na'uzubillah, if you have whatnot, gastritis, headache, you go to see a doctor, a physician. And this is also a disease that we have to go and see a spiritual doctor to treat. Because this is more serious than our physical disease. Our physical disease, the worst case is die, death, finish, end of the world. How old are you? Oh, 63, died. That's it. The end of the suffering in this world, right? But if you have this, if we have this, na'uzubillah, we will suffer forever in the hereafter. Because if we fail here, we fail here, we have that, we fail there, then we suffer. Okay. Okay. Number 8, characteristics of a true Sufi Murshid. Leave your question until 10 minutes before we end. Characteristic of true Sufi Murshid, he must be knowledgeable. And Imam Ghazali mentioned there also. It doesn't mean that he's a great alim. You don't have a Sufi Murshid. A Murshid doesn't have to be a great alim, knows everything. But he must be someone knowledgeable, knows the hukum, knows what's halal and haram. If he's not alim, he doesn't know what's halal and haram, and he breaks things, sharia, then no, that's not Sufi Sheikh. If he says, at this stage I don't have to pray anymore, then that's not a Sufi Sheikh. You can just pack your thing and go away. Because a true Sufi Sheikh will follow sharia until the rest of his life. Sharia is a must for a Sufi Sheikh. A true Sufi Sheikh must be sharia guided person, not someone who ignores. At the end of this, I've seen this many people, I've reached a stage that, this is haqiqah stage, I don't have anymore to pray. That's haram. That's haram. Not averse to love world and fame. It's not someone's looking for fame, love of the world. You find these many Sufi Sheikh, so-called fake Sufi Sheikh. They use the murids to accumulate wealth. You have to donate this much, or give for the Sheikh. Give. So Sheikh live in, no? That's not true Sufi Sheikh. My Sheikh used to say, I don't care whether there's a disciple or not. I don't care whether I have any disciple or not. A true Sufi Sheikh is not someone who wants to have followers. But people come to him to get guidance. Not that he search for members, like, we have society looking for members. No. A true Sufi Sheikh, they don't care whether they have murids or they don't have murids. But people come to him to get his guidance. Successful in displaying his whole soul and others. He must be a successful person. If you find a Sufi Sheikh easily get mad, bad temper, then it's not a Sufi Sheikh. A Sufi Sheikh is a very quiet, very humble, very calm in nature, That's a true Sufi Sheikh. That's why I cannot be a Sufi Sheikh. Cannot be a Sufi Sheikh. And I'm not qualified anyway. So virtuous character. Is here Imam Ghazali mentioned there. Sleep less, eat less, all those generosity. So we eat more, we eat a lot, sleep a lot, pray less, fast less. Okay, so that's a true Sufi. Okay, then he mentioned about adab with him, and then the adab with Sufi Sheikh. So if you are not happy, what's more important here? If you don't find, Imam Ghazali mentioned here, if you find anything that you are not happy with your Sheikh, don't quickly make a judgment. Perhaps you don't know the truth behind it. Imam Ghazali mentions here. One thing is that you go away for a while. Just, be on your own and try to contemplate until you mend your heart with the Sheikh. Because if ill feeling towards your Shaykh, then your journey is not successful. So you must correct your intention, your spiritual. So I think that's all. Inshallah, we end first for this recording session. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa baraka wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.